Alright guys, Kenny Smith, Total Force Holdings. We're going to talk about some of the politics going on after the latest shooting in Orlando. Number one, we're going to go ahead and start with, I posted a video stating my thoughts after the incident. I want to say it was the day after. Anyways, the day I found out about it. I was coming up 85. Matter of fact, I was just getting into Georgia when I filmed it. So, or was it? No. Yeah, I was just getting in Jordan. Anyway, look, that's irrelevant. But anyway, basically I stated that the people in that nightclub were essentially taking an elevated risk from an anti-terrorism perspective because certain people are always going to be targeted by extremists. You've got, look at the history of England and Northern Ireland with the Catholic and Protestant churches killing each other for so long. Look at anywhere in the Middle East, Islam versus other religions. Then you could take that a step further with Islam versus certain communities. You're always going to have the gay bashers out there that are that they got the term bashers because they used to go, not because they would talk shit about them like in the term today, but they would go try to bust their head open. They're always going to be out there. It's wrong as it can be, but they're always going to be out there. When you go into a place where they all congregate, you're essentially walking into a higher target area, higher risk target area. So you're essentially putting a bullseye on your back. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with people going to those clubs or anything like that, or you're being gay or anything. It's not my prerogative. But then again, it's not my business what you want to have relations with. That's not my business at all. So anyway. I just want to go ahead and reiterate that if you are of a lifestyle that you know to be targeted by groups, you need to take certain steps and make certain understandings that you are a little bit higher target than other people. Next, again, I want to express my sympathies to the families and friends of the victims of that shooting. That's a horrible, horrible thing. There's no justification for it, and there's nothing I can say to make you feel better. Just know you've got what little sympathy I have. You got it right now. Anyway, continuing. Yet again, mass shooting, we see knee-jerk reactions. Knee-jerk reactions from our political, I can't call them leadership. Our employees, supposedly in D.C., paid to represent us in our opinion. Paid quite well, actually. And yet they choose not to. How many times has gun control failed? Every time it's been proposed since 2004 when the assault weapons ban went away, rightfully. So we're going to talk about a few things that they've been proposing and that they proposed in the past, why they're effective or why they're completely irrelevant. One law we're going to discuss is still on the books today. And it is a bane to many gun owners, and a lot of people will say, hey, well, it's a good thing. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'll show you a time where the exact crime it was supposed to prevent, it didn't work, okay, at all. Next, after we discuss a few of those laws, we're going to discuss some things that, I would propose to the legislature at whatever state legislator may see this, or any federal legislators. To propose and why I think it might work. And if you don't like it, fine. I didn't ask you for your opinion. If you don't like it, that's okay because I get paid for my opinions. So there it is. First thing we're going to talk about is before we even get into the law aspect, we're going to talk into the absolute political gamesmanship and show that I honestly think is a pathetic excuse of adulting that was exercised by some people's representatives in D.C. yesterday. Staging that damn sit-in. Look, you're not 3. When I was 3, if I'd have sat down in the middle floor until I got my way, one of two things would have happened. I'd have either got completely ignored until I went on about my business, or I'd have got my ass tore up for making a mockery of myself. Okay? I think honestly, all those Democrats in the House that chose to participate in that sit-in, I think their mama and daddy should have took them behind the woodshed a time or two more when they were younger. Teach them a lesson about behaving in any such a way as that. All right. Now, Everybody's talking about Paul Ryan cutting off the microphone and camera. That was funny, is what that was. I don't care what side of the political aisle they're on. When someone wants to make a show that immature for attention, and all of a sudden you take away their primary means of attention, that is hilarious. Even if I agree with what they were sitting in for, which I unequivocally do not, that's funny. That is funny. I was laughing hysterically when I first started. I was mad because I thought it was, a mockery of what the United States Legislature stands for. But nevertheless, it was pretty funny when he cut the cameras off on them. So you have these people who are staging a sit-in, comparing themselves to the sit-ins of the 60s. Look, newsflash, the only thing that y'all two share with the 60s sit-ins is the fact that you call it a sit-in. Alright, the protesters in the 60s were protesting for civil rights for everybody. Not for just people you like. Do you know why my tone changed? Because that pisses me off. Okay? Here you see a group of Democrats sitting down and making just being stupid to try and pass a vote on something that failed in committee, as Paul Ryan stated probably 40 times on C-SPAN yesterday. If it fails in committee, how well do you think it's going to do in the actual House? Probably not very. Okay? Next, the Senate tried to pass the same law, and it got shot down. Why would you, if it won't pass the Senate, if you know it won't pass the Senate because it just got shot down the day before yesterday, I'm pretty sure their opinion is not going to change in 48 hours. Alright? All that was a bunch of overgrown kids acting retarded. I'm not even going to insult kids that way. That was a bunch of overgrown, insolent crybabies that didn't get their way and threw a temper tantrum. Okay? Because of something that the leadership saw. Hey, there's no sense in voting on it. It's not going to go anywhere. Alright? For once, that was a congressman trying not to waste people's tax money, paying them to work on crap that they know ain't going to go anywhere. And if these Democrats want to get so retarded in the House, they should look. 2 of the gun control bills that were proposed the other day got shot down, were shot down by Democrats, just because they were proposed by Republicans. Granted, Democrats' bills were shot down by the Republicans, I think, because they were proposed by Democrats, but I also think there were stupid laws that should have been shot down because Democrats voted against them too. It's just beyond me to think that United States legislatures, grown, I can't call them adults, but grown, educated, supposedly educated people, behave in any such a way. It's just beyond me, beyond my comprehension. Anyway, maybe that's why I'm a use of force instructor and they're a politician. I don't know. But, so, we see this show, which is all I can describe it, and it is preying on fear. And we're going to discuss that at the end of the video. But it's preying on the people's fear. And by preying on these fear, they're trying to pass various laws. The first one being the no-fly, no-buy ban. If you're on the no-fly list, then you can't possess a gun. You can't go buy a gun. Newsflash, if you're on the no-fly list, you're already flagged on the NICS system. Okay? You're already flagged. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be denied, but you're already flagged. They're going to look into it. 2. The first one there, obviously, you're already flagged in NICS. 2, it's illegal. It's illegal. The no-fly list specifically violates the right to due process. Why? Because there's nothing occurring of it. It doesn't affect your right to travel. It just affects your right to travel by plane. It doesn't affect your right to travel in general. Alright? Whereas if you take that list and apply it to no-buy, if you can't purchase a firearm, then you can't legally possess a firearm. A little bit different. That's like saying if you're on the no-fly list, you can't walk somewhere anymore. Alright? You can't have a driver's license anymore. You can't ride a bus anymore. You can't ride a train anymore. You can't get in a friend's car and ride with him anymore. Okay? That's essentially what the no-fly, no-buy is. That is taking every bit of a constitutional right from an individual without the constitutional right to due process, which is unlawful, which is why it's not going to pass, hopefully, which is why it didn't pass. Anyway, one of the things that didn't help it pass was Dianne Feinstein, and I am so definitely tagging her Facebook page on this when I post it on there, just because I think it's good fun. And I certainly, even though I'm not in California, thank God, I certainly want Dianne Feinstein to see my opinion. Check it out. When you, as a sitting United States Senator, sit up in front of the people and say, Americans, if they're on this list, should have to prove their innocence. No. That's not how our legal system works, lady. I can't call you a lady, because you don't act like one. Alright? You act like a typical innocent, not innocent, but overgrown school child that doesn't get their way at those temper tantrums. Alright? Anyway. Our legal system works on the balance of innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Not, you're guilty, now prove you're innocent. Polar opposite of how our legal system works. How Miss Feinstein managed to stay in office as long as she had, preaching crap like that for as long as she has been, is beyond me. Anybody that's ever voted for Dianne Feinstein should probably consider taking any kind of class on how our legal system works, because if you're listening to her, she obviously has no clue what the hell she's talking about when it comes to our legal system. Just saying. End of rant. Next subject. They want to pass a ban on military-style assault weapons. Been there, done that. 1994 to 2004. What good did it do? I'm going to introduce you to two incidents, which you should already know. If you don't, you owe me burpees. The first one occurred, I'm going to get the specific date, I know the year. There it is. Open up. Occurred on February 28, 1997. The assault weapons ban, as championed by Bill Clinton, passed in 1994. In this incident, approximately 1,100 rounds were fired by two suspects, and 650 rounds were fired by the responding police officers. Fortunately, there were 18 injuries, and the only two fatalities, which is the fortunate part. Fortunately, the only two fatalities were Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Matassarian. Yes, I'm talking about North Hollywood. The Beretta 92 FS pistol with its 15-round magazine was not okay under the assault weapons ban. Just because, now granted this isn't a Beretta, but because of this, a 15-round magazine. These were not okay. Alright. Those were not okay. You want to talk about a military-style weapon? You know there's absolutely no difference except for the markings between a military M9 pistol and a Beretta 92 FS. They're the exact same gun. Doesn't get more military style than that. It was used in that robbery 3 years after, not quite 3 whole years, 2 years and change after the assault weapons ban was passed by Mr. Clinton. They also used a pair of Norinco-made AK clone rifles, an HK-91 rifle, which, by the way, was also banned from importation in the early 90s. I want to say that was Bush 1 that did that. Assault weapons import ban. Okay. Now, California passed laws against their so-called assault weapons starting in 1989. So, the rifles that we use in North Hollywood were illegal by state law, and then were also illegal by federal law with the assault weapons ban. So, George Herbert Walker Bush banned the import of semi-automatic rifles to include the HK-91 in 1989. So it was a banned rifle. It had been for 5 years. 5 years when the assault weapons ban came into place. 7 years, not quite 7 years, but right around 7 years when the shooting took place. Also, used was a Bushmaster AR-15, the rifle that Democrats love to hate. And it used a Beta C 100-round drum magazine. They were used in that that event. All right, 1,800 rounds fired right at it. Okay. So, obviously, it didn't stop that kind of offense. Well, there was already a law in place before the assault weapons ban meant to stop this exact type of heavily armed bank robbery as perpetrated at North Hollywood. And that's the National Firearms Act of 1934. It's the reason we have tax stamps for short-barreled rifles and shotguns, tax stamps on suppressors, tax stamps on machine guns. That's the reason for that. Here's the thing, guys. All 4 of the rifles used at North Hollywood were converted in defiance of the National Firearms Act to selective fire. So what good did it do? No, not really. Alright. It is what it is. Alright. These type of laws just bluntly don't work. I'll give you another incident that occurred. One of the weapons used was banned on a little incident that occurred April 20th, 1999 in a little town called Columbine, Colorado. The Intratec Tech 9, the DC-9 in particular, had been... I remember watching assault weapons ban crap, and when they were talking about banning the Black Talon bullet and all that, you specifically mentioning the Tech 9 was used in that shooting. You're not going to stop this from happening by passing new laws. Why? Criminals, by their very nature, do not obey new laws. All you do by banning items in common usage, right, such as when the National Firearms Act went into effect in 1934, such as after the assault weapons ban came into effect in 1994. All right, granted, it was just new manufacturing and stuff like that. But when you ban things that are in common usage, all you do is make a new class of criminals. All right, they're just totally ineffective. Next thing, the high-capacity magazine ban that was also included in the assault weapons ban in 94. Really? Not going to stop anything. Not going to stop anything. Not going to stop anything. All right. Never has, never will. Ken Campbell, when he was still sheriff in Boone County, Ohio, and Ken Campbell is a gun sight instructor. I've had quite a few good exchanges with him on Facebook. He's a pretty good dude. Definitely knows what he's talking about. He did a video showing that 10-round magazines, or I want to say it was like 6, 7, 8, something like that. Anyway, weapons that held less rounds, you could still, if you knew what you were doing, fire about the same amount of rounds in the same amount of time. Not quite, but close enough. And I think he did like 100 rounds or something like that. I don't remember the video now. Hopefully when it goes up on Facebook, Ken will chime in and speak. Hopefully he'll reshare that video. But anyway, what we see is they're trying to pass these kind of new laws, and they just don't work. And they want to talk about universal background checks, okay? Well, if I sell a gun, and I don't perform a background check, how do you know I didn't perform a background check? There's only one way that can happen, and that's with a Universal Firearms Registry. And we all know, if we look at history, where a Universal Firearms Registry leads to. Eventually that leads to confiscation. And you mean to sit here and tell me with a straight face that Dianne Feinstein and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer and Harry Reid and Michael Bloomberg and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and all these other jerk-offs in D.C. wouldn't absolutely love to see this populace disarmed, especially if their name ends with parenthesis D dash state abbreviation here, parenthesis? I know they would, because they preach on it all the time. You don't preach on something until you're blue in the face that many times unless you absolutely want it. And this is how it starts. It's a little nitpick, little nitpick, little nitpick, little nitpick here. First they came after these, but I didn't speak up because I didn't have one. Then they came after these, but I didn't speak up because it didn't affect me. Then they came after me. That's how this works. Look at history. That just leads us down a road that we don't want to go down. So the universal background checks without a universal firearms registry are totally impractical. Further, background checks only show you what somebody's done, not what they're capable of doing. Omar Mateen passed his background checks repeatedly. So you're going to sit here and tell me again how they prevent violence. You're right. I don't want guns in the hands of prohibited possessors either, but there's a better way to do it. There's a much better way to do it. What else does that do? I was given my first handgun at 6 years old. That's a few shy of 21. The family heirloom handed down, and guess what? That would be illegal. I can't run a NICS check on my son, which I don't have a kid, but I couldn't run a NICS check on my son if he's not 21. I can't run a NICS check on a first 22 rifle, which, by the way, I got when I was 4, and I've still got it in my other room back there. That can't happen. That's a few shy of 18. So what this does is it totally eliminates this eons old tradition of handing down family heirloom weapons, whether it be for hunting or defense of people and property or whatever that may be. It just totally ends this entire tradition. Okay, so that's one of those things that just shouldn't come to be. All right, I don't want guns in the hands of prohibited possessors either, but at the same time, there's better ways to do it, and that better way is actually empowering ATF field agents to do their frickin' job and go after them. All right, quit playing politically correct and start playing put criminals in jail. Just saying. Another thing that we could do that would make things a whole lot easier and safer: pass universal constitutional carry. How many people could have been saved if somebody could have been carrying and end gun-free zones? Oh my God, end gun-free zones. Constitutional carry and ending gun-free zone would save some. How many people could have been saved? Just one person. Just one person. One of the vets that was in Pulse that knew how to handle a weapon. All right, and I'd be willing to bet not everybody in there was drunk, because I know a lot of people go out to places like that and don't drink, can't drink, won't drink for whatever reason. Maybe they're a DD. Who says that one sober person in there with a carry permit didn't know what the hell they were doing with that weapon, and when he started popping off rounds, didn't draw out and put one in his dome? How much quicker could that have been solved? A lot quicker. How much lower would the body count have been? Who knows? Depends on when it got started, but I bet it wouldn't have been 49 dead and 53 wounded. Just saying. All right? I get it. When you call law enforcement, they're coming balls to the wall. All right, they're going to do their job. But for tactical reasons or other reasons, sometimes they can't get there, and you are your own first responder. Just because they're on the way doesn't mean you're safe until they get there. So by allowing us, the people, to be our own first responders in more places would make this country considerably safer. Okay? What does that mean? Constitutional carry. Concealed carry without a permit. Excuse me. Heartburn. Nationwide. I would love to see nationwide constitutional carry and the ending of gun-free zones. By federal law, and certain states have changed this by their own state laws, by federal law, within 1,000 feet of any school is a gun-free zone. So that means technically you can't have a gun in your house if you live within 1,000 feet of a school. That's bullshit. That is bullshit, is what that is. All right. Whatever. I think people should be able to carry everywhere they go. But that being said, I have a huge problem with someone telling me because my house is within 1,000 feet from something that I can't exercise a constitutional right. Yeah, fuck you. That's what I say to that. But that's why I don't live within 1,000 feet of a school. But I have friends and family who do. So, anyway, that being said, ending a gun-free zone is passing a constitutional carry. I've already discussed why new gun laws don't work and can't work. What we need is more aggressive enforcement of laws we already have on the books. Discuss that. Discuss the political show that's been going on in D.C. the last few weeks trying to get votes on these either impractical or illegal proposals, usually by Democrats. 2 were put up by Republicans this last time. Last thing I want to talk about. Oh, not quite. Okay, yeah, and I've already discussed that, what I would do to... Oh, yeah. How do you eliminate the terrorist problem? Start treating them like enemy combatants. That simple. If during the commission of a violent crime, you pledge allegiance to one of our enemies, be it Daesh, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, any of those guys, anyone that's declared themselves our enemy, okay, fine. You just declared yourself an enemy combatant by your own admission. Under your Miranda rights, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You just admitted to that. Now we file a motion to transfer you as an enemy combatant to a military tribunal. Done deal. Alright? Settle it like that. What about the street gang problem? Use the RICO Act! Street gangs are not this group of little thugs running around being stupid. They are a form of organized crime. Use the damn RICO Act against them. Works great. Look at what RICO Act has done to other branches of organized crime. You mean to sit here and tell me with a straight face that it won't do the same thing to a street gang? If it can do what the damage it did to the American Mafia, that it won't mess up a street gang? Of course it will. Of course it will. Alright? Use it. Use it to your full advantage. Next, when I say constitutional carry, someone inevitably chimes up. Well, how does our police stop a gangbanger with a carry and concealed weapon if that's no longer a crime? They're gangbanger. It's not like you have to look hard to find another crime. Okay? Who knows? You might even catch them with a little bit of dope on them. And if you search that person and you find a gun and a little bit of weed, boom! Federal prohibited possessor. Bye. What about where marijuana's legal by state law? I didn't say anything about state law. I said you're a prohibited possessor under federal law. Why? Because marijuana is still illegal under federal law, 21 U.S. Code 802. Okay? Guess what? If you're a user of or unlawfully addicted to, if you're a user of or addicted to any unlawful controlled substance as defined by 21 U.S. Code 802 per section 18 U.S. Code 922G, you are a prohibited possessor, federally. Send him to ATF. On what grounds? I found him with this and I found him with this. Lock him up. Federal prohibited possessor, 5-year mandatory minimum. Bye-bye. Done deal. That's how you do it, right there. Oh, he was under the influence. Oh, so you're a user of, boom, 922G. Send him up the road. Done deal. Done deal. Transfer him to federal. All right, that's how you stop that. So last thing I want to talk about is all the various gun control groups and the irony of them. The irony is right now they're talking about, well, terrorists. In the name of anti-terrorism, we need to pass new laws. Okay. Sounds all right at first, in the name of anti-terrorism, pass new laws. Then they're using the fear caused by acts of terrorism. They're using that fear, a state of intense fear, to further a political goal or an ideological goal. That state of intense fear is being used as a method of coercion to further their political or ideological goal. That's the very definition of terrorism. Gun control groups, guess what? Welcome to the club. You're no less of a terrorist, no more of a terrorist than ISIL, ISIS, Daesh, whatever the fuck they want to call themselves, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. You're no different. You're using the same tactics. Democrats in the House, Democrats in the Senate. Barack Obama, Joe Biden. You're all using the same tactics. You are making yourself terrorists in the name of fighting terrorism, which I find incredibly amusing. All right? I don't care. Do what you want to do. That's not to say, and I'll go ahead and further to say that by trying to push new gun control laws, you're taking your hands and smearing the blood of those victims, and you're just using it to your advantage quite cruelly, mind you. All right, I'll say that my opinions, you can call it the same thing. You can call it me using their blood to further my own goal. Not really, because I'm quite certain that if I walked up to one of those 49 dead, said, here bro, it's loaded. There's a dude about to bust up in here in about 5 minutes, going to start shooting the place up. I'm pretty certain he would take this Glock right here and give Omar Mateen a face full of lead as soon as he pulled that rifle out of wherever the hell he had it stashed from. Alright? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain if I walked up to 49 people, at least one of them would have took me up on that offer. Alright, so if you want to save just one life, as Obama said, how about instead of wasting the people's time and government treasure trying to found new unjust laws that are probably going to be ineffective, most likely going to be ineffective. History has shown their predecessors and similar laws have been ineffective. Why would they be any different? Instead of wasting government treasure on that and government time on that, waste government treasure and time enforcing the laws that are already on the books aggressively and steadfastly. And then we can have a talk about if any new laws are needed. And I say have a talk because it's going to be a one-sided conversation. I've already given you the only two that I'm in favor of. But, yeah. Anybody that sees this, understand the lunacy that we saw the other day when with that stage sit-in because they didn't get their way. That's why friends don't let friends vote Democrat. And because of incidents like the Pulse nightclub shooting, that's why if you have to, ride dirty. But understand, I'm not telling you to break the law. If you decide to ride dirty and you get busted, I told you not to. Big boy rules apply. But I can't say that I haven't rode dirty for what that's worth. But again, big boy rules apply. Or big girl rules, whatever. Stay frosty, stay dangerous, and stay in the fight. Alright, where's that stop button?